Even for women, I have seen, and I know women are very vocal nowadays. Especially for me, the privilege of these 4 years and 2 months of being in government, I am working only with women. In higher education, starting from Kavili Jakhalu madam, then Dr. Anumla Iyer, then Dr. Abeni, now, Madam, your sister, Dr. Katoni, even you were there. Dr. Lily, now in Tribal Affairs, Madam Sino, then now Dr. Imti Sangla. And now, finally, Higher and Technical Education Secretary is also a lady. I don't know her name nicely now, a little bit of wrong. She's a Chishi, former Secretary, Rural Development. You really don't know how to fight with a woman. And I have not learned that art till now. But it has made me into a more patient, into a more steady, and into a more assertive person. You just can't win any battle with women. You just can't argue with them. And especially with the intellectual lot, like all of them. Ones that are highly qualified, who knows business, who knows what they mean, what they talk. So, in the midst of that, I just tend to keep quiet and see how it works, move smoothly, and say that all is well with me. I am at peace. So, putting across everything, today the challenges that we are facing in Nagaland is actually not a challenge. We, the Naga people, our people, see, we have always had the story of putting bravery in the way we cut head, how many heads we took, and how many people we killed, or how much we can fight. And that is the only story we hear. And unfortunately for our society, among the Nagas, not even a single village I've heard them losing their battles in the past. Every villager only talks about their bravery. In our village, some names are Samratangba also, which means I took 30 heads. The names that are given. Such is the story of our past. We want to glorify it. We have no story where we could really envision and build a very strong society. The opportunity of team is today for us to be a state where the population is more than 70% educated, to be a state where 65% of the population is in between the age of 15 to 50, to be in an age where technology and science is at its forefront, to be in an age where communication is so easy just by sitting here. If you still want to say that there are challenges and issues for women reservation in Nagaland, then I think we are misplaced somewhere in the 21st century to be in the wrong place, in the wrong time. We are at zero. I pray that we will live at the present and build a collective future. There is no issues if we don't make it. If we can give 33% reservation to men and women of the backward areas, why can't we give 33% reservation to our women, irrespective of which area? Let us be very profound in acknowledging womanhood in our lives by allowing them to be at par with us in policy making in various platforms. So may this panel discussion bring forth a lot of insight and inclusiveness to build more thinking capabilities and robust mechanism that will make Naga society into a thinking, intellectual and responsible society in the days to come through such panel discussions. I pray, whether I stay here for long or not, I pray that all of you participate, and through this initiative and this platform of these two departments in Dimapur Government College, I really feel proud and eminent that the center of education is a center of learning and it's a center of excellence. Nagas of Nagaland need such platforms to discuss in small groups, bigger groups, and not just decisions without discussion. May this initiative be such conclaves to be held. Principal Sir, I request you that every 2 months on one or the other issue, you kindly do that.
Yes.
It is very important. You bring various strata of life society and bring them. Sometimes call the Riksawala, Thelawala unions also and tell them to stop it. So where are we leading our state? On this, just adding a little bit. Where are we leading our state? Where are we leading our people? What kind of a future we uphold for our people? Starting from women reservation issue. We have issues like rain. Rain goes to like pitch. And so many issues. And I have read somewhere, tyrants always open their mouth, but the silence of the knowledgeable people will create ruin for our people. The people of Nagaland's silence on facts and reality will lead our people to ruin. And let's not blame any tribe or anybody for that. We should have the strength to listen. Have the strength to listen and be humble. And have the strength to say boldly and be fearless. Because death comes to everyone, no matter which time. And it is in the hands of God, not in the hands of men. So I request all of you, as you go back today from this panel discussion, not only on women reservation issue, but on all issues, let us be humble and yet be bold. To speak about the dreams of our people, the aspirations of the Nagas of Nagaland, the citizens of Nagaland, irrespective of which tribe or non-Naga or Naga, and build a robust future. I pray that very soon we want to see a lot of women in the assembly, in the municipal councils, in the town councils, and in various forums, giving their beauty and essence and strength wherever they are. Thank you very much for calling me here today. I'm really telling you the truth, my dear uncles and sirs. In the assembly, when we sit, we don't like to sit for too long. From morning till 9, 10 it goes. Imagine having 33% women in the assembly. We will sit forever.
When civil society is spearheaded by the Tribal Apex bodies, we have raised the issue on certain aspects in the Nagaland Municipal Act 2001, where some provision of that act were required or demanded to be reviewed or amended. Now, that 33% reservation is also one of the aspects. Now, unfortunately, things were turned into a different color. That the movement of the Naga people in 2017 was only in respect of 33% reservation. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, it is one of the aspects which the Naga people have raised an issue or urged the government to amend the Act, Reservation Act. Now, regarding the other tax provision, which was also incorporated in the 2001 Act, those are the demands where the Naga people have asked for. Now, considering that Naga people are protected by 371A, which will be touching the other course of the discussion also regarding the current interpretation of 371A. Now, as per the 371A, your special provision in respect of Naga people has been incorporated in the Constitution. Now, this 371A, if I have to put it this way, is a different, a unique agreement which is signed between the government of India and the Naga people. This is a political agreement, unlike other provisions or other articles which are incorporated in the Constitution of India. Now, 371A clearly specified 4 aspects where the Naga's rights have been protected. Now, in respect of the one is religious and social practice, Naga customary laws and procedure, administration of civil and criminal justice, ownership and trust for all of them. Now, here is the question. The people are confused because it is on the part of the leaders, also the responsibilities also on the civil bodies to each way the people in the proper perspective. Because reservation, in other words, it is a negative perspective. Because in the context of Naga society, now we have been protected by 371, which was entered into an agreement with the government of India and the Naga people. It has protected, especially protected religious and social practice and social and customary law. Now, where is the religious and social practice? We Nagas have a social institution where we commonly call them as a Morung. It's a social institution. This is the first institution where our traditional customs have been imparted on the Naga. Now, Naga customary and procedure. The opening remark of 371 very clearly stated, notwithstanding anything in this constitution, no act of parliament should be applied in respect of this whole aspect unless the state legislature has enacted on that. Now, this is a special problem. The opening remark itself says that whatever act that we have been passed or legislated by the parliament cannot be enforced to the Naga people instead of Naga unless it is legislated by our state legislature. This is the special problem. Now, coming back to the 2001 Municipal Act, this is an act passed by our state legislature. Now, our moderator has already pointed out, very specifically pointed out that this is state legislature, enacted by state legislature. The parliament cannot do anything. The parliament is not going to, Parliament of India is not going to review or change it. It is the honors of the part of the state government to amend or review or make the changes in the aspiration of the Naga people. Now, any act or laws passed by legislation is for the welfare of the people. And if any laws is adverse to the interest and aspiration of the people for whom it is enacted, it is adverse. Now how does this reservation come into infringing our constitutional special provision provided under 371A? Now, this very topic of reservation. Now, to discuss on this, there is a very limited scope because, as we all know, that this is enacted by the Constitutional Amendment of 74th Amendment, where it has incorporated. It has mandated that reservation should be considered, or the election should be held with a 33% reservation. When the Parliament has enacted any law on amendment, we are left with less scope to discuss on that. However, having said that, when the issue in 2017, when the new moderator has recommended by civil society, was a huge outcry of the Naga people. That was the moment that where the Naga people have demanded that other provisions which cannot be accepted or which are adverse to the rights and interests of Naga people should be reviewed. That was the demand. It's not that 2017 Naga tribal bodies movement or the Naga people movement was not against the 33% reservation. Now, since it has been mandated by the Constitution through an amendment. We have a less scope on that. Now, regarding the positions on discussion these, I am placing the position because Honorable Minister was given a very extensive keynote address. Is very.
Counter your.
Yes.
74th Amendment is already mandated by the Constitution and it has incorporated 33% reservation. But here we have the 2001. So if the amendment of this 2000 Amendment Act, will it not override the mandate of the Constitution against the 33% reservation? But again, the Municipal Act, we have another problem, taxation. So can that be tackled by our state legislatures?
See, that is the point that the Naga people are very serious about it, because this is not only concerning about the person reservation. Taxation is a major issue. Because once it is mandated or amended by the parliament, we have to, this is a mandatory regarding the 33% reservation. Provided that the state government should also see the modalities how to go about that. Now that is one thing. Now, regarding coming back to the taxation.
Okay, our minister has a question.
Yes. Just a second, see, this is a discussion only. I don't want to. Taxation is actually, taxation has to be understood by all of us. If we are paying house or building tax, it is not going to go to the government of India. This is what our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Nephew Ryuji, has been telling all the civil societies and NGOs and associations. The taxation goes in the exchequer where the elected representatives of the municipal or town will decide to use those funds in making our roads of the colony, in making proper drainage, open defecation free, some good centers of eminence in the town or in the urban areas where it is needed. So we should understand that it is, nothing is going there. By the way, we are already paying GST in all business establishments, in the things that you buy, in the things that you are buying, your car. You are paying GST, my dear people of Nagaland. And the GST goes to the government of India. And that's how we get funding so that our states can also do well. But in the case of this municipality or urban town, the money doesn't go to the central exchequer. The money goes to the exchequer where your elected members, the ladies and gentlemen who get elected, will frame the policies to use that money for our benefit. So the whole issue has to be understood, and sir, we should not be afraid to say that. Because we are already paying GST in many ways. Every commodity that you are putting in your home, in our homes, fridge, television, scooter, bike, roof, every and anything, including the clothes that we wear, inner, outside, on the top, on the specs, on the back, we are already paying GST to the government of India because one nation, one tax is going on. So this thing has no more to be discussed on that issue, means furthermore in the village level or urban area or all those things. It is, we are going to pay for our people. So that is very important.
Sir, can I ask one more question to our minister? Sir, you are the policy maker. Now it is up to the state legislatures to amend, not to amend. But the apprehension of the stakeholders today is if 33% reservation is implemented, will it infringe on the 371 Article A? Taxation is one thing, but Article 371A is another thing. So will the rights of 370, imposition of taxes, house taxes is not imposed, but will it impose house taxes, property taxes? Because now we are paying taxes, we are paying fees.
But ma'am, how can it break Article 371A. I am not a lawyer, but I am telling you. I am paying for myself. I want to wear a good shirt, so I go and buy it myself. You want to make your town good? You want to make that your colony Naga doesn't stink and clear? You want to see proper structures of school or healthcare in your area? You are paying that. So article imposition, it's going to be very foolish if we elect members for doing nothing. Government of India will give us grants, but to run the town, to run everything, then the first thing those people that are opposing it should also think. The NGOs and the civil society also run by money. They come for donations. Then don't pay tax, pay donation, building donation, house donation. You can put it in another way. But to run the whole system, we need money, and the money has to come from within us, for our town, for our cities.
Sir, very luckily, we also have a Dimapur municipal administrator, and when it comes to taxation, during the discussion hour we can discuss. I think we're already paying taxes, but the apprehension of implementation of 33% reservation and taxation, that is the issue. But we're already paying taxes. I think Sir Albert will be able to enhance a lot, enlighten us a lot during the discussion hour. And let us move back to the panelists, and later during the discussion hour, we can take as many questions from the stakeholders. And I would also like to put forward a question to Madam Banu. Women are asserting themselves in the process, giving a new trust to grassroots governance. The impact of women in this provincial politics is that social myths are beginning to be shattered. There are those initially very cynical about the induction of women into the roles of power that argue that women are just dummies for their husbands. I think our sir will agree. They felt that women would be unable to exercise as administrators, either by ignorance or by limitations imposed on her by domestic duties. Now, Madam Bano, the 73rd Amendment Act, it handed over reins to the people with 33% reservation for women in the Panchayati Raj. Now, after women started to occupy the seat of powers, changes were felt. Now, women's participation in Panchayatis is slowly and surely making an impact. In the grassroots governance, we're talking about grassroots governance. Now, do you think Naga women would make an impact on grassroots governance or implementation of 33% reservation for women in the civic bodies? So let us discuss in the context of a social revolution for Naga women in the context of decision making, and whether we should demand for implementation of 33% reservation, because we have many men here, and today let us give our inputs why 33% should be implemented. If not, why it should not be implemented.
Thank you for the question. Good afternoon, everyone. Just being here and listening to all the inputs on the Act itself, it makes me wonder why we are even having this discussion. We were handed Article 371A, the most unique act ever for any race, ethnic race, and yet we have not been able to build upon Article 371A. And today we are discussing about reservations. I think we have to remove this concept of reservations from our minds. Article 371A is a very, very delicate act, and the more we attack it, the more we disenfranchise it in our own thoughts and in the systems that we are attaching so many laws under it. I feel that we are going to weaken Article 371A, and we are already seeing this happen with the constitutional amendment, the 74th Amendment. I wish there had been years ahead, in the previous years, where we encouraged our women folk. We are talking here today because we have left 50% of the human population and of the Naga ethnic population behind. The women folk in Nagaland as the minister has already pointed out, hold the bulk or are the support pillars of our society. Yet, in the villages, we see that women are voiceless. Women have no voice. We are talking about a 33% reservation in municipalities and in town councils. I think we have to look at our villages. At the villages, are the women's voices being represented? And at this moment, you know, when we talk about the taxation, yes, sir, you've already mentioned that we are paying GST. We are paying taxes on commodities that we are purchasing in the state of Nagaland, as it is in everywhere else in the country. But the issue here, I think, which is a kind of a paralysis of the mind or a phobia that is in the minds of the public, is the transparency, the accountability, the implementation of taxes that will be collected and how they will be utilized. And we have seen the state of Nagaland and the governance of the state of Nagaland in the last, now almost 60 years it will be, perhaps in this year. And the level of administration, the level of governance, the level of dissolution of development, where are we standing today? Today we look at women and we see that women are at the forefront of everything. And you mentioned in your speech also, which gave a very compact and a concise approach to the discussion that we're having today, about women being participating more and more in politics. But one of the biggest disadvantages why women have not been able to participate in politics is because they have no control over the economy. And as we know, politics, to play the game of politics, to account all of this, I think at this stage, when we are going, when the Supreme Court has already given a six-week period, which the state government is making a request for that to be withheld till the 2023 elections, we have time to really look at the nitty-gritty and set in motion and put up the pillars, the landmarks, the milestones that we need to achieve. And one of the biggest things that we will have to do is make ourselves aware of the law, teach ourselves the law. What are the provisions under the law? What are the rights of a citizen? What are the rights of a citizen even as a voter? What are our rights? And unless we have these constitutional rights clearly, branded in our minds, and as we approach the 21st century and as we go on into the 22nd century, I fear that we will head more and more into anarchy if some of these really fundamental issues are not set forward. And the issue of governance, the issue of delivery is still a very, very major issue with any district. We can talk about the maintenance of our roads. We can talk about the absence of water distribution. We can talk about the lack of electricity. These are all responsibilities and functions of the government, of the delivery agencies or the departments that are there within the government. So I think we talk about the 33% reservation as if 33% reservation will, when it comes about, will equalize, the power of women, and women will keep quiet after the 32% reservation has come into being. No.
Madam, cutting you,
Yeah.
I'd just like to pose a question to Mr. Rebo, taking advantage of the presence of the Honorable Minister. Mr. Rebo, now if the government goes ahead with implementation, understanding that women has, now we're living in the 21st century, it has become very important to be decision makers. Now, will the 33% implementation of 33% reservation be opposed by the stakeholders, by the civil societies? I'd like to pose this question because the legislature is here, and let us also know advance.
Thank you for the question. This is a very critical question to answer, because whatever the Naga Anyway, I'll go by that. Considering that the movement which we have initiated in 2017, see, as I mentioned earlier, we have met this issue in a different color. It is concentrated or confined in the context of the women's reservation aspect of it. Now, the Naga people were never against a policy formulated by the government. The demand of the Naga people should not be interpreted in a negative way that we are totally opposing the conduct of ULB election. That was very wrongly conceived. Because the issue, the memorandum which we have submitted by the Naga people on 23rd January 2017 is specifically mentioned that certain provision of the municipal act should be reviewed. That was the only. We are not against the government. We are not against any progressive policy taken up by the government. In fact, we should support it. In fact, everybody.
Women should start fighting for this reservation.
See, if we have to do that, looking back to 2017, the movement was spearheaded. Even the women, the Naga women, with their traditional attire, they were in the forefront. So that was the common agenda for which we all followed. We are not saying that we are taking advantage of the women participation in that movement. The Naga movement, the aspiration and the demands of the Naga people should not be wrongly interpreted as going totally against the reservation policy for the women or any progressive policy of the government. We are supporting the government. We agree that they should be elected. However, there are certain things which need to be collectively reviewed or discussed in a proper discussion. That was the demand. Now the government of the day, or rather our state government, this Municipality Act was enacted in 2001. Now after the enactment, going by the track record, in 2016 there was a first amendment where 33% reservation was incorporated. In 2012, the same government has revoked that reservation. See, this is the stand of the government. We need to see the proper perspective. We cannot just put the blame on the Naga people and Nagas against the government policy. In 2012, the Naga Party's institution went to the court. In 2012, again the government has revoked another that we'll take the 33%, we will conduct election with 33% reservation. In 2017, it was declared that election we have. That was issued study. And now, the first civic body election was held in 2004, if I can clearly remember.
Sir, let me interrupt here. We have another program where our minister will be attending, but our discussions will go on. However, I'll cut you short because we might get some questions from the stakeholders also. And I'd like to put one question to Madam Kavili. Madam, reservation for municipal affairs leads to progressive steps. Now, in the general election of 2018, women voters were higher than male voters, 86% women voters to 81% male voters. In 2013, women voters were higher than 2%. Now, isn't it time for Naga women to fight for constitutional rights? Because Article 74 amendment is our constitutional rights, and let us not forget that this 74th amendment is mandated by the Constitution of India, which is the mother of all laws. So how to interpret in the context of constitutional rights for Naga women?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Good afternoon to all of you. That's quite a long question. The first part, I beg to differ. It is true that women participation in Nagaland elections is very high. I agree with you. But participation is not representation. We are talking about representation. Alright? Representation is nil. That is the first point I want to make. And we are talking about reservation for women today. I will not talk about the other issues which the other panelists have talked, all right, and we will have it in the discussions also. I am going to talk about the reservation for women, why we need it, and the main reason for the necessity to have reservation for women in legislation. Today it is ULBs, but we need them in all legislative bodies. And by legislative bodies, we mean decision-making bodies. We are not talking about participation at the lower levels. All right, let me be very clear about that. Now, when you talk about equality, right? The equality of egalitarian Naga society, I think you're all very familiar with that term, is a myth and a fallacy. Right? It has been spread by former British administrators and foreign anthropologists, all of whom were men, and they had this outsider looking inside view of the Naga society. Alright? And they are the ones who have spread this, and the people happily believe. They say, oh, Naga women are so respected. Their position is relatively better than their counterparts in other, and so on and so forth. This is the way we are all fooled. Alright? The reality is, at no time, Naga women have been given equality vis-a-vis Naga men. Let me see, the traditional society which we are talking about, and which the men are so agitated because it will go against the provisions of the 371A. Alright? Let us look at it. In the village community, because at that time, we were all villages. There were no urban bodies, there was no urbanization. It was all villages. There was a clear division of labor. Let us look at the division of labor. Alright? The woman, motherhood, domestic drudge, unpaid agricultural worker. That is a lot in life. The men, they rule, right? They protect the home and the hurt, right? They go to war and they take heads. Very good distribution of labor. By any stretch of the imagination, this is not equality. Let me talk about another aspect. Naga women do not have the right to inheritance from time immemorial. What is this? What is the implication of this? It means that they have no right to land or property. This means they are economically dependent on their father, their husband, their brothers, and finally their sons. Is this equality? One more point, which is not mentioned. Naga women have no right to be members of the traditional political institutions by any means. Not only you cannot be a member, you do not have the right to discuss or even debate. The common notion is that women don't have a thought in their head.
We're expected to be dummies for husbands.
Exactly. So therefore, effectively, women do not have a voice in any of the decision-making institutions.
Madam, so do you think that 33% reservation should be implemented in Nagaland?
Definitely, 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 because women have no say in the rules which govern their life, their existence. I say exist, because that is not living, they exist. They don't have an option. Right? That is the case. We are talking about the traditional society. Okay, now we are talking about the present day. The present day. Let's come to the present day. Have changes happened? We are talking about 33%. Have changes happened? Yes. There have been changes. We have to admit that. What are the changes? I'll just mention one. In relation to women, right? Can't cover everything. Education has been good for women, right? It has helped them to break out of the domestic drudgery. It has helped them to become economically viable, shall we say. Some have become self-sufficient. Many of them have been able to get employed, and many of them are supplementing the household income. So,
Madam, then what message would you like to convey to our Honourable Minister for the government to frame policies for the women in Nagaland? Because it is the state legislators who implement
you
it.
see, you are putting me in workers' spot. Our minister has already told us his opinion. He is 100% in favor of women. So I am confident that he will do everything possible in his capacity to further the progress of women. Alright? But he is just one man in 60. So what I would request him is kindly inform the other 59, please mobilize them so that they change their mindset. This is a pet peeve of mine. Why do we have all these problems? We can discuss these things, as the minister says, until the sun rises or the cock crows or whatever. Alright? But basically, this is the problem. None of men have to change their mindset. Their mindset is still steeped in this patriarchal social structure which thinks that women are subordinate. I won't say inferior, I will say that they are subordinate. And they go around saying things like, oh, we respect our women, oh, we honor them. Thank you very much. We don't want to be honored. We don't want to be respected. Because that means you are putting up on a pedestal. We are human beings with various weaknesses. Alright? We are not saints. Don't put us on the pedestal. Alright? Give us equal rights. Give us a level playing field through measures like 33%. That's not the only thing, but that is the topic of today. Give us a level playing field. Then we will not make any reservations. Alright? And we will fight our own battles. But unless that is done, why 33% is available? Now somebody has mentioned that it is open for all. Women can go for elections anytime. Why don't they go? Right? Yes, why don't they go? It is because of this mindset. Alright? We have enough qualified women, and a few brave hearts have even gone for elections, as we know. None of them won. Why? Is it because they are not qualified? They were highly qualified and capable. Why did they not win? Even the women voters, as I said, very high participation, even the women voters did not vote for the women candidates. Why? This is because of the entrenched practices, alright, based in a society which is steeped in these patriarchal values. A woman's vote is not hers. It belongs to her husband, her brother, her male relatives, and they will decide whom she votes for. Alright? And in Nagaland, as you know, due apologies to our minister here, we don't vote for a person because of his capability. We have other issues which I will not go into today, but the person himself is not important. It is what he represents.
In 1878, Mrs. Mary Mead Clark, the American missionary, she saw the plight of Naga women, where men did not allow women to be baptized. And the men said women have no right to take part in churches. So Naga women stood firm and 2 women got baptized in 1880 on August 15. So that was the first step towards the liberation of Naga women. And sir, we are very honored by your presence here this morning. And this panel discussion is mainly to have a very conducive discussion in order to carry forward our message that we want a very conducive society where the participation of the stakeholders and legislatures and the esteemed panelists is very important. So even in the future, we'll seek your participation and we hope that we'll have more conclusive and more impactful programs.
Can I say a concluding remark and go? See, as a man, and Madam, all of you speak, I understand. And I think all the men who are sitting here understand the facts. And in the Hill Society, where most of us profess to be Christians, all the men were sitting and the women were kept aside. But when the day of voting comes, half of the men are drunk and the hangover is there in the morning and they are not there in the polling station also. And the women are the one who are giving the proxy 20 times, 30 times. So, to just say bye-bye to all of you, I feel very strongly for you, Advocate Sir, in the midst of 2 strong ladies. There are so many things you will be happy about later on.
We wish you the last
I want to just conclude and go. But thank you for such insightfulness. And I think men who are sitting here today feel very privileged to see and to understand what women in Nagaland are feeling. So, as you wanted me to spread the message to my legislators, I'll try to do that. But out of 60 of us, me and Paiwangji, we are unmarried. So direct message is okay. 58 of them are married. Their wives, you all can have access. And let the women folk tell their men folk. Because I think men are so much dependent on women.
That is women's empowerment.
Honestly, in my home, without my cousin sister or my sisters who are helping me out in everything, I just can't know how to execute the rest of my things. So they are the backbone of many things. And we pray that one day we'll also become their backbone like that. But tell their wives to stop cooking. Tell their wives many things, and they'll understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Based on the solar industry. Now, one thing I want to also like, before coming to that, little elaboration. Reservation, when it comes to reservation. Reservation cannot be like conveniently emphasized only on the political spectrum. Because so far as we are concerned, our honorable ministers have clearly and specifically said that in his department, almost the top officials are women, from the women. So, where is the area where the discrimination is, experienced especially in a woman, in a well-dominant Naga society? Now, for example, like in a department, most of the department now, for more than 10 years on board, 60% or 65% of the employees are women. Now, if the male gender started claiming that we need 50% now, because of the fact that have there been any discrimination in the aspect of the social activities, education, or employment? Now we are concentrating to find more only on the context of a political aspect. That where there is imbalanced representation, or rather there is no representation at all. Now, for that matter, today we should be proud that Naga, one MP is represented by a woman leader. Had there been any discrimination, if there is any discrimination in our society, I think those cannot be there. For instance, in a very practical point of view, discrimination in the sense that some people, marginalized section of the people who could not come up to our level. Constitution of India talks about equality. Not equality, women groups are more privileged. For example, we can look around in our audience today, most of our ladies are wearing jeans. Even in the dressing, we are discriminating male gender, we cannot wear meghala. Women can wear that shower, men's shower. They can wear anything. Even in that aspect, we have no discrimination. Reservation is in fact only on those societies where untouchability and caste system are present, where women cannot come out. But we are happy that there is no such disparity in the Naga society. Now, coming back to the Swiss Endowment Day. Now, just very recently on 9th March, the government has very conveniently said there is a Supreme Court order that 74th amendment is there, so we have kindly accepted. Tomorrow, Supreme Court will pass a judgment saying that land and resources in Nagaland belongs to the government. Can the Nagas accept that? The government is our government, our government is so concerned and interested with 200 something crore of rupees with the government. They are considered, they are not looking about what will happen tomorrow. No, we are talking about taxation is not enforced. This 2001 Municipality Act is not enforced. That's why we are not facing the problem as yet, practically. Now, once it is fully implemented and enforced, the Murki will have in the house, the houses we have, all will be taxed. The building, the room, the commercial, all will be assessed and valued by the government, not us. In other words, if this act is implemented, the Naga Malik are saying that we have just to wait what the government says. We have no right over your
immovable or movable or immovable. Where it is necessary to are not subject to tax. There is only enforcement there. In a place like Dimapur, where there is a government has by notification declared as a cadastral area. There is no cadastral area in the rest of the other states. So therefore, this is a floodgate which will undermine the value of the 371A. Because our government is planning executing whatever, because Supreme Court has passed a judgment on the all India passes. They don't see that what is the land holding system, absolutely what is prevalent in the Naga society. They see in a larger perspective that the land belongs to the government, not to the people. But here it is reversed.
So regarding this land issue, now the Assam Land Regulation Act, it allows only Dimapur to pay land taxes, not in other districts, nor in any of the Naga places, villages or towns do pay land taxes. So do you mean that after this implementation, land taxes will be paid? Is that a fear of the civil societies?
আমি সবকে অ্যাড্রেস নম্বর লেবেন আগামী স্পেরাই করে দেব यदि কিমান পুরা দেখা নাকি খান আৰু মতা খান দুই নিগা খান আহি কেনা মই প্ৰিভিলেজ পা কাৰণে আমি আপুনি খান সবকে থ্যাংক ইউ কৰি আছে এনি সবকে এড্ৰেছ নম্বৰ লেবেন আৰু অৰ্গানাইজিং খান এনেকা মহান লাগা কলেজ পৰা wisdom থাকে কেনা এনেকা প্ৰিভিলেজ আমি খানকে এইটো ডিসকাশন কৰিব পাৰা কাৰণে আমাৰ গভৰ্নমেন্ট কলেজ ডিমাপুৰ এটি প্ৰিন্সিপাল পৰা লৈ কেনা সবকে থ্যাংক ইউ কৰি আছে আমি এইটো অলপ এক্সপেৰিয়েন্স কৰি আহাটো মই ভিলেজ লেভেল থেকে মই চেয়ারপারসন কৰি কিনা আহিছে নাৰবাৰী দি 15 years ভিলেজ কাউন্সিল মই আম এলন 15 years মাজদি মই নাগালেণ্ড দিটো মই একলা আহিছে এতিয়া তাক ইটো পাৰবি নাই হলা টাউন দিটো নাজানে কিন্তু তাতে কি মন ইলেকশন কৰি কিনা মতাখান লতি করে আহাটো মই উঠাই কয় they are so good to us হলিবি কিতেপা ইটো ওভারঅল লুকিং দি সাইলেন্ট আপনি খান ডিসক্রিমিনেট মতাখান পুরা কাস্টমার লো পুরা লোক করে হলিবি বেশি গরম করে তখন পুরা জেনারেল ইকুয়ালিটি ওমেন এন্ড মেন হলিবি তাদি কাস্টমার লো আহাদাম দি মোহাঙ্গে মাকি লাগা এদি আমার পিছে লাগাছে তো মাকি কাম্বি মুখোশ আছে তো মতাখান পুরা এটা পুরা মাকি কাম্বি ফালকে পুরবি আইএস অফিসার পুরবি আইপিএস করবি আপনি কাম এটি ইনকা পুরা কাম্বি আমা বাবা মুখোশ টাকা কান্দো মাকি কাঙ্গে বি সমান তো দিব নরে পয়লা তো আমার এইচডি দে আপনি কান করবরা বালবরা পুরি লইলে এটুই হবো ভাল শিকাই লইলে আপনি কানকে তো মতাখান লাগা আছে সমান কান্দো মাটি বি মতাখান লাগা খরবি মতাখান লাগা লেবি আপনি কান পুরি লইলে থাকবিলে না ডিসক্রিমিনেট নকরে কইলে করে আমি তাদেরও বেশি ভাল রাস্তা দি পুরি না আছে কিবা পলিটিক্স আমি কানে মান পলিটিশিয়ান কথা কই আছে লেবি ভোট ঢালা দামদি মাকি খান অতিনি মেম্বার কই দিছে না পার্সেন্টেজ টু মাকি খান হাই লেবি হেড অফ ফ্যামিলি বাবা পড়া আজি তো আমি খান তো এটুকে ভোট দিব দে বাবা পড়া ডিসাইড করা কারণে আমি খান তো এটু ইমপ্লিমেন্ট করব নরে দাও আমি খান তো ইলেকশন দি মাকি খান হয় কোনো মন দামর হয়ে না যায় হলে 500 1000 পি নাম্বার মানে আছে তো বেশি বাত খরবি ফ্যামিলি কে সার্ভ করব না মতাকে করব না আমি খান বি সার্ভ করব মন না মানুষকে সার্ভ করব মন সোসাইটিকে করব মন হলে বি আমি খান জানে আছে পলিটিশিয়ান খান তো পয়সা না ফেলাইলে নহব কিলে নলাই পয়সা ওলো হলে বি আহা যা চাহ চাহ পানী হলে বি পেৰা দাম দি ইলেকশন দি পেৰাৰ খান হলে বি বনাব লাগিব তো না কিন্তু আপনি এইটো বনাব গৈ পয়সা মাগিলে না ফ্যামিলি মিলি কিনা না ইতো আমার নিমতি খাই দিয়েছেন আমার এইটো কারণে খরবরা খেতে মজা মাগিবি চড়া চড়াও কিন্তু আপনি লাগা আমি লাগা বাচ্চা আমার মতা গেলে ঘরতে কি election piche de bi khor bi itu mortgage korise election dante ahi kena sob loi lebi itu to ekun kintu amai ekta to itu la condition bi study kuri de aru ite municipal urban di my experience to India condition mota khan bi state election hoye na mota khan bi election man korise kintu mokhan ke tu dia nishina 2017 di tu dia nishina tati praram ja magi khan especially Dimapur Kohima bi withdraw hoise mokuk chumbi hoise kunbi file bi purana kintu mokhan do korise to moi ward 6 pra till 30 February 1 day halibole taxi 30 tak ami khan khelibo dise government bi mokhan ke sida hoa nai khelibi hoise kun ekta holibi halibo pare moi dui ditu hoise eta sob jai jai ya maki khan traditional moi maki khan ke bi biya pai ready kori mota khan lo khelibole reservation kotha nabobi enika moi maki khan ke bi koi reservation ke ta khali itu dafni mogen ke protect kora nai naga women ho ko thakise iman leader khan ami khan ke to uta hali ke na kheta nishina kaza raga diye ja bagan bi thik pra kilometer walk rishi de mai khor mama khan suku pani lage na mage to moi janya se apne na mon duk no pur na tea garden pra asam lage na asam pra kaza raga tak je khor me age na pathor phelabo khor lok kuri dibo sema manu mandibo tumi to sema se ahibi withdraw koribi lotha khan apni lotha se ahibi ho pura mati opai na thaga pura withdraw to pura nai kintu government pura extension na kuri rakhi dise mohan hobo na ki এতিয়া তো ছুটি কি পাকি না মই রিটায়ারমেন্ট বি হবলে হই যাইছে কিন্তু মাকি মানওয়াndo where মোখান লাগা আমি কিলে মিউনিসিপাল টাউন কাউন্সিল ইস ডিমাপুর তো বুনাই রাখিছে আমি চেয়ারম্যান করা দাতে সব বুনাই গেনা ইস ডিমাপুর ওই গেনা এটা তো ভিলেজ নাই নারবাড়ি পুরানো বাজার ভিলেজ নাই দে কিলে মই ডিমাপুর দি গুরুবলে মন হইছে বলে মোখান নাগা সিটি তো ডিমাপুরে আছে ট্রেন বি এটি বড় যায় এরোপ্লেন বি এটি যায় neat and clean হলে বি অলপ সার্ভ করি বলে কি কিবা একটা হলে বি আমি ওটা ট্রেন মানুষকে কি কয় নাগা মানুষ বি আছে নহবি আপনি খালি মোখানকে শিকাইছে তোমাখান একটা দোকান দি নাগা একটা রাখি কেনে মোখানকে চাকরা করব দিয়ে না আমি খান বিয়া না আপনি খান বিয়া আছে ইটু খান অলপ রেটিফাই হব পারব নাকি অলপ দিন 1.5 year আমি মিউনিসিপালিটি মই একলা আৰু ইটু মেম্বার কৰিছে গভর্নমেন্ট নমিনি দিছে না ইটু তাতে পৰা অলপ এক্সপেৰিয়েন্স পাইছে তাতে পৰা মই খান ইটু এনিকা অলপ হলে বি কোন সার্ভিস করব পারে মন পৰা কৰিছে মানে কি এনেকা মই থাকা পৰা একটা ইলেকশন যাইছে কিন্তু এনেকা ফেসিং কৰিছে ইত্যাদি গভর্নমেন্ট তো খুলিলে বি আমাৰ সোসাইটি পৰা ইটো না মানে ইটো কিমান আমাৰ ভাল হ'ব মতা খান ভাল আছে ক'বলে বেশি মন হলে বি আমি খান বি মৰম আপনি খানকে না মতা খানকে ইমান মৰম হলে বি আপনি খানে মখানকে ইনিকা কৰি থাকিলে মখান বি সাবিনা খেলি বি বব ইফালে পৰা তো পুৰা পুছৰ তানি কিনা ৰাখে আমি খান এটো নৰে ইলেকশন এমএলএ বি এতিয়া তক স্টেপ পাই না জন বি না আমি বেশি এপ্রিশিয়েট কৰিবলৈ আছে সার্ভিস যাই যাইছে তাই থাকা পৰা আমি খান ৰাজ্য সভাতে হলে বি পঠাব পাৰিছে এটো হিষ্ট্রি আছে বিজেপি খান মিলাই না এটো कैंडिडेट होबो আমি খানকে এটো বাৰটো বিজেপি খানকে লব দিবি কৈছে এটো মানে মই দিন এক মহিনা আঠা দিছে না কেলো ইন্টারভিউ কৰি laga history di jaise manu kodam to pramai ke appreciate sab si Nagaland di maki ke Morung kurada apni ase do ini ang popular asle jai jaise
Mohan Brown
tai nishanam আমি খানকে মৰম বেছি থাকিলে ভাল আছে কিন্তু আমি খান এইটো এতিয়া ষ্টেট কামিং ইলেকশ্যন বি 2023 দি যাবলৈ আছে আমি কৈ থাকে এইটো বাৰ বি কবি নল'ব দেই এইটো বাৰ বি কবি এইটো বাৰ বি আমিতো ইমানটো ভাবে ওলাব কৈ কিনা একদম হপফুলটো নাই আমাৰ অলপ বুদ্ধি ওলা নাই হলে বি ইটো বি তাইকে ডিসক্রিমিনেট কৰিছিল ওলাবলৈ থাকাটো ইণ্টাৰমেৰিজ বি ডিসক্রিমিনেট কৰে তাই এইটো এনগেজমেন্ট কৰি কিনা থাকা পৰা ফৰ্ম হৈ যাব তুমি কমিয়া লগা চিট একটা লৈ যাব না দিব কিনে 11 আৱাৰ পৰা কিনে আমাৰ মানে এনেকা civilized নকৰে intermarriage di kiman laba se ami itu koi thake bot mota maki pura bot community ke serve kora se Morung kora se kiman bal na hoina noy lamba la se lebi ami ekdom khushi pa la koi di bole lebi amahan tati bi kiba ekta weakness amar laga thakibi do tumi to mota to lotha lebi sunde sema ase bobo moi kiba ekta lebi তাইতো সেমা আছে লোথা নহয় তাতিবি মাকি মানৰ কাৰণে একটা তো বাহি যায় ইটো খান আমি গান বেছি সিনচাৰ কৰিলে না পিছি দিনা মতা খান খাব মাকি খান সব এক্সপেৰিয়েন্স হৈ কিনা পুৰা লেখা কি দিবি ইটো মুখান কি শাৰ্পিং ষ্টক নিচিনা নকৰা আছে এক্সপেৰিয়েন্স মাকি খান আমাৰ খানতো মোক ডাঙৰ আছিল আমি খানতো বুখান পুৰা কিলো পাৰ্টনাৰ বনাইছে হয় মুখান নৰাটা কৰে আছে আমি খান তাহাঁতো মুখান ঘূৰাব পাৰা নৰিল টুকুৰা পাৰ্টনাৰ কৰিছে কিন্তু মুখান কেবি ইমান আণ্ডাৰষ্টিমেট কৰি কিনা নাগালেণ্ড যিটো আমি খানকে ইমান কৰি আছে কিন্তু মই এইটো পাৰ্টনাৰ মাদাম ৰছ না ৰছ মেৰিকে কয় একো নকৰিবি মতা খানা আমাকে চান্স নিদিব বোলে Holy night ek din bhi kuri sare to ek rati lekin maki kan sob hoye jabe ek rati bhi na parbo to takon ami into his strike korba strike kuri kina it is sabo bole ase minister hobi prime minister hobi na parbo to etu karone amkhan illegally mon download kuri kina আমি আমার দোস্তি মানুষকে থ্যাঙ্কস করে তখন আমি পারবি না পারবি মই আমার মন পড়াতা কানকে সার্ভ করা কারণে মই 15 ইয়ার্স তো মই চেয়ারম্যান গ্রুপ দেয়া কারণে আমি তখনকে পুরো আমার থ্যাংক ইউ বলে লাগে এবং ম্যাডাম হাজবেন্ড এন্ড ওয়াইফ তাই দিন পুরো সঙ্গে কন্ট্রিবিউশন লবে না একলো গ্রুপ ইনি কার নিছে না इसी कारण के ना मैं 3 years to 15 years 5 years पर अभी बुझबो पारे छे इतो तो मैं grateful for it कितने ना আমি overall looking the আমি খানে ইতো last election দেবি continues যা আছে আমি খানে के election 2017 দি লোবন নিদিয়া লাগাই দেবি তো মুন্দি দেবি হাতা নাই কিন্তু আমামান বাকি মানুহ ডাঙৰ মিষ্টেক কৰিছে লাঠি সব ট্ৰেডিশনাল লগিন লাঠি বি মতা নধৰে দে বাকি খানে ধৰি কিনা ডিমাপুৰ খানটো সব এক্সপেৰিয়েন্স আছে দেখিছে না জাংশন দে লাঠি মান লগিন মতা পৰাবি নহয় কিনা তাকন পৰা মহানকে খেতাই কিনা ইদিনা কৰি কিনা এইটো মহান মিষ্টেক উইকনেস টু তাতি পৰা তামৰ শ্ব' কৰি দিছে না ইতিয়াতে এইটো কৈছে তো না ট্ৰেডিশনাল ড্ৰেছ কিন্তু itu do mistake question women reservation di kusiji do mongando 2017 di women reservation kusiji do mongando kushi paigena kurishile mokokchum nomination file pe korbodia oi ma pura withdraw korbodi khali Dimapur di mix law garne mom damar hoigena sab nomination file korishile withdraw pe korangane withdraw korbode man traditional dress binda khan amar naga khan kita community bra kheta lebi mohan bi koi bhi withdraw pe pura nahi start up to cancel na pura tak korishile itu ami khan our rights to mohan bi jan pura election ho karni tax law itu de mai la experience ti village council euthani panisina village council they पहिला para British time para itu introduce para the administration para house tax paigena 20 rupees per house yearly to kambarali uthabo dibo administration itu ami khane itu town area itu pata jama pata itu khan dia to ami khan yearly itu mujidar lokati ami khan itu tax de municipality ami salo ami experience lado iman sanitation iman nala iman itu khan nimdi khali ami khan itu sanitation tax koina serdo jane ase itu law tadi pura whole itu sweeper khan tolak digena itu kurahe ase nole itu municipal election magi khan loile tax loba itu tu manu naga manu banaya ase na sob city di mohan bi visit kuri saje itia ami khan purana bazar nahar bari is Dimapur to notun implement kura se gare aise to card banagena khor di itu moila khan lobo nimdi itu kura se nohole extra tax municipal urban tax alag to public local itu mai election dandi murki laga tax pi lobo magi khan election jale gawari laga pi lobo amnya laga di pi lobo itu sob koi gina mo nange kheta je do